yeah, ciao, swadika, danke, auf Wiedersehen, bonjour, pass the burrito. Okay, so if you haven't already, if you're already subscribed, that's cool. Maybe think about pressing the bell, then you'll be notified about a new video. If you haven't subscribed, do that. If you haven't already had a look at the Patreon, think about that. We've got people funding my novel, funding the publishing of my novel. You get a credit in the back, you get a free copy of the novel if your total donation before the novel comes out adds up to $10. Your value of investments may go up as well as down. Please see our terms and conditions. So when old people used to say, when I was a kid, not when they said that, sorry, when I was a kid, and old people would, something had come up and they'd look at each other and go, "Cool, and things changed, eh?" And they changed. And as a kid, you were like, "Oh, yeah, all right, of course they have." And you couldn't see the value in that. You couldn't see what was interesting. But, as I approached my mid-40s, and things changed. And things changed. But, really, growth has accelerated. Acceleration is exponential, isn't it? It's when things get faster. Do you see that? When they get faster. They're not just getting faster, they're getting faster. And I was telling my really young girlfriend the other day about the Rag and Bone Man. I said to her, I remember the Rag and Bone Man, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I know Rag and Bone." She was talking about a rapper and had no other reference point. And I can remember the Rag and Bone Man. On a Saturday or Sunday morning, you'd hear, "Rag and Bone," and then my mum would be like, seeing what bits of old shit she could give the Rag and Bone Man, and it would occasionally be a horse and cart. Rag and Bone, Rag and Bone. Sometimes a bell, bang, bang, Rag and Bone, and everyone would be loading up their old washing machines or old push bikes. Just if you had some tat that wasn't food, it'd take it. And there'd be like a couple of them sitting in the front or at the front of the, and that was the Rag and Bone Man, which I ain't seen one in a long while. We don't get them around here. On top of that, what we also had was the toffee apple and roasted peanut man. Now this feels like another era. It makes me feel Edwardian. There was a bloke, he had a push bike, like a freewheeler, with a box on the front, with toffee apples and roasted peanuts, little packs of roasted peanuts, ready roasted at home in a bag, little brown paper bag, and those lovely green apples in that sort of crispy, glass-like, mouth-lacerating toffee, with that nice flat bit that had spilled over and sort of, nice. And they'd just be on his bike and they'd have a belt and they'd be going, "Toffee apples and roasted peanuts. Toffee apples and roasted peanuts." But in many ways like culture. Because what he said again and again and again. It went from toffee apples and roasted peanuts to an incomprehensible incantation. So it was more like, do you see how I've likened that to the repetitive nature of culture? Stole that from Frederick Jameson in The Cultural Logic of Late Capitalism. Makes a bit of sense, doesn't it? It would be quite a horrific experience where me and my brother would be sitting there bored out of our minds with only 2 channels of black and white television. When we'd hear, ding, 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 and we'd be like, Mum, can we have a toffee apple? Can we have a toffee apple? And she'd get out the required 20 pence, 10p each, and we'd open the door and run out to see the Rag and Bone Man. After our starving bellies had already anticipated the deliciousness of a toffee apple. But oh no, it was rags and bones. But it got me thinking about money and what I did to earn it in those days, which I don't think kids really do anymore. Probably because they're terrified. I know they do, some of them, but I've written myself here a list, alright? I'm going to work from the list, which isn't something I usually do, but wow, it turned out I was a busy little capitalist arsehole. Now the first one I don't actually remember. This has come from my mother, so she could be lying. She's not that she's a liar, but the option is the opportunity was there. I remember owning a goat skull. I mean, I've got see that? Oh, let me turn off this fucking autofocus. Hang on. Ba ba ba. Hey, there we go. Hang on. I'd rather have a little break now. Ba ba ba. Ba 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 ba. Cool. So, look at that one. That says div. In England, that means idiot, which is nice. Done that one myself. This one here says caprine, which means goat-like, like Capricorn. And this one says, my other body is a really excited goat. That's a cross. I don't know if you can see, but it started off as like just a round dot, but my mate said, you've just tattooed yourself with a mole. So I put some lines through it because I thought it was like the crosshairs, you know, because, oh yeah, they're coming for me. So yeah, this fascination with goats probably came from this skull, and I was absolutely fascinated with a goat skull. I think it was the first time I saw what was inside something that used to be alive and had eyes and all that business going on. And I was fascinated with it. And my mother said to me, I used to stand in the front garden of the house, and as people walk past, I'll be like, seen that? Yeah. Goat skull. Would you like to touch it? You want to touch it? 5p? Yeah, no shit. She said I'd be like, you know, cool marketing though. Don't mention the money. Make it look like an experience. Get them wanting. At the last minute, pull it back. Remove it. 5p. You know, in a day I could make what? 25, 30p? Sweet. So that was the first one, and that's outside of my own recollections. The second one I remember well. I was over my nan's, and her boyfriend Bill, he worked down the docks. He had the swallow tattoos on his hands. I think it was to show that everything he touched flew away or some shit. And he'd give me a lot of watch straps. Weird thing for him to have. He had about 20 watch straps. Little sort of fake gold things that sort of stretched, and a couple of fake leather things. And I was like, I'll have them. And he was like, yeah. And I got home and again set up a stall in my front garden, like a little milk float with a blanket. Not a milk float, the whole float. What do you call it? Milk crate. Little blanket over it. Like a presentation area. Laid out the watch straps. Sold the lot. Sold them all. A couple of quid ago. I was about 9 years old. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Whew. Then we move on to a little bit later in life when I managed to buy 100, now I'm about 13, 100 packs of Sherbet Dib Dabs. You know, the little red lolly? Oh, it makes me go goosebump thinking about that crystalline citric acid on your teeth. Yeah. Well, I managed to get 100 of them off of Major Baines, his name was, Major. Indian bloke who run the corner shop. He sold me 100 packs at a discount. So I put them in my school rucksack, put the rucksack on my front, went around school with the zip open, punting out Sherbet Dib Dabs. Yeah, not such a fast mover, but nonetheless, I certainly identified a gap in the market, because they sold. I remember doing it more than once, you know. Didn't end up with loads of them around the house, and I didn't like them because, so I certainly wasn't getting high off my own supply of Sherbet Dib Dabs. Reminds me actually, while we're going back to Rag and Bone and the toffee apples and roasted peanuts, next to the corner shop there was a Cobblers. A Cobblers, not a shoe shop, a proper shoe repair shop. They'd be in there hammering soles onto shoes. And where I grew up, it's not like you know, it's houses only. It's a residential area. It's not in a town centre. So people would take their shoes there to have them repaired. And I can remember it was all wooden. You know, there was hardly any plastic in there. This was really from another era. And it was like a proper, you know, old bloke, flat cap, glasses, roll up. Yeah, I can sort it out for you. Yeah, if you come back tomorrow, I'll just whack a new sole on them for you. Fucking Cobblers in a residential area. There's a pub on every road as well. public house, probably featured as a public house as well. You know, fire, drinks, company, every street, little streets as well. Only like, what, 30 houses each side? Pub on every, if not in the street, on the corner. I think now there's maybe 1 or 2 of those left in that whole area. It's called Newtown. It's the old part of the town, though. It's not that old. Where were we? So yeah, Sherbet. After the Sherbets, of course. I say of course, but you haven't guessed. Coca-Cola, straight in with the big boys. Again, Major Baines. He was up for it. He was selling me them, not at a massive discount, but enough. And I saw Sports Day coming up. Now it was my big heavy-duty sports bag. Put about 40 cans in it. I got a mate of mine involved as well, a bloke called Mark. He didn't have so much gab though, so when we got there, mine went like hotcakes, like cold drinks. His didn't. So I bought his off him at a loss to him, which meant a bigger markup for me to get rid of the rest of them. The Sports Day Coca-Cola. Oh yeah, we're flying through these now. Now there's a step up. Word got round, of course, that I was the local businessman, and I was approached by a family friend. No, a friend's mother. She had the golden card, the golden ticket, the macro card. People from England will probably know what that is. Macros is probably an American company. Typical English thing. Oh, I'll explain this to the Americans. I've already asked you if you had gnomes and moonies. The macro card was cash and carry, so I got to bypass Major Baines. So I'm straight in the cash and carry with my mate's mother, and I bought these things called dinosaur eggs. Do you remember them? They were like gobstoppers. They seemed to be about that big at the time, but they were probably only like that. Oh, and they had like loads of different layers. Oh, orange. Oh, it's got mint. Oh, it's sour. Oh, it's like cinnamon now. Wonderful. Punted them out of school. And watermelons. Oh, man. And they just had that incredible... Isn't it funny? You're trained as a child. It's funny with the old vaping now. All the flavours, you know, cherry and custard. And you don't need me to go through flavours. But when I taste the cherry one, I'm like, oh yeah, that's really like cherry. And what I mean by that is it's really like cherry flavouring that I grew up on. Because it doesn't taste... If I had a cherry and it tasted anything like that, I'd be like, fucking... You know, we were trained on the artifice of these things at a very young age. But the watermelons really tasted like watermelon flavouring. It was strong in them. And then we get to the more conventional child money raisers, the old car washing. Did any of you... I want to know if any of you got involved in any of this sort of stuff downstairs. The car washing, where you turned up empty bucket and sponges, you knocked on the door, and in your best sort of artful dodger gutter snipe voice, you went, all right, governor, can I join your car wash, like? And the wife would usually go, oh, that's sweetheart, and he'd go on, Jim, give him £1 or something. You think, oh, yes, a whole pound. And then they'd fill your bucket up with water. You'd be praying for hot water because you don't want that cold. And then you'd go out and do a really shit job of pretending to clean his car, especially if you got the money up front. The worst ones are when you've done a shit job or done a good job, and afterwards they're like, oh, yeah, no, nice one. Go on, here's 20p. And you're like, 20p? You think I am 9 years old, you cheeky cunt? I'm not going to be able to get myself pissed up on that, am I? Car washing. Then, of course, your classic carol singing. Got to learn a lot about the world through carol singing. 1, can't sing. 2, rich people, they're rich for a reason. When we went to the rich area, West Dartford, and by rich I mean slightly better off than East Dartford, but, you know, semi-detached houses and all that, and nice clean clothes. That counted for rich in Dartford if their clothes weren't covered in shit, if they didn't smell too much of piss towards the end of the week. I mean, I had a tin bath when I was a kid. Drop that in, a tin bath. I'll dig out the photos for you, me in a tin bath. My mum swears it was for leisure. Fun. Mum, can we get in a tin bath? We went up the rich end of town. They just wouldn't open the doors. You'd see the curtains open. They'd be like, ooh, they're from up the east. But if you go to the estate, go over Temple Hill or Tree Estate, they'll open the door. Oh, come and have a look at this, will you, Glenn? And you'll be there, the three of us. We wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, can you sing another one? And you'll be like, oh yeah, Happy Christmas. Just make it up. Happy Christmas, it is Christmas. Happy Christmas to you and to yours. It's a Christmas Santa Claus. Of course, sometimes you'd be given an apple and you'd be like, oh, come on, man. Fruit shit, man. At least something synthetic, not an apple. Oh, thank you. Right, scrub that one off the list. Next year, do not go there. And then the blatant paedophile, also, of course, as soon as the door opened, we'd all be like, oh, we'd be like, oh, how nice to see you all. Have you got a song for me? My name's Philip. Would you like to come inside? No. Happy Christmas. It's a Christmas feel. Touches kids. Okay, so we've all done a bit of that. And then, of course, Guy Fawkes night. Guido Fawkes was involved in a plot, the gunpowder plot, you see, to blow up the Houses of Parliament I think it was some time ago, maybe a few hundred years. I don't know the details. And in this country, we like to celebrate revolutionaries by burning them on a stake without knowing anything about the politics. And that's what we do. We have fires where we put a man, not a man, I'm sure someone has, but like a jumper and some trousers, and we stuff them full of old clothes and rag and bone stuff. And then when the fire burns, he's on top, like just melting. And you'd make a sort of a fake face, usually a carrier bag with a magic marker, or a mask that you might have left over from Halloween. Not much we made at Halloween, and maybe a mask to give it a face. And so what you do on the run up to Guy Fawkes night, and depending how broke or depending how much of an entrepreneur you were, you'd depending on how desperate you were for money, you'd maybe do it 2 or 3 weeks before Guy Fawkes night, the actual night, fireworks night as it's known really. You'd make a guy, that's what it was called, Guy, and you'd sort of sit there outside a shop, and people would walk past you, go, got any money for Guy Fawkes night? And they'd sort of give you their change, and after a few days of that, you could have, 80, 90 pence. The weird thing was, early in my Guy Fawkes career, you'd outright say it was money for fireworks. You wouldn't do that now, not a chance. It would be banned. Probably is banned anyway. One kid probably got his bum touched, and so Guy Fawkes begging is now banned. But you'd be there, a couple of you with your guy, sort of there. And you'd be like, all right, got any money for fireworks? And people would give you money on the understanding that you're going to spend them on bangers and rockets and things. Weird. That changed. Once, when we were probably a bit too old to do this. I mean, I remember when I was in Leeds, the door's gone around Christmas time. I've opened it. There's a geezer there with his hood up. He must have been about 16 or huge kid. I couldn't even see his face. He was going, we wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Got any money? Got any money? I got my mate along. Went, come and have a look at this one. Go on, give us another one. And he sung some song that wasn't even a Christmas. I'll tell you what he went for. He went, wish you could be home for Christmas. Wish you could be home for Christmas. That was it. He didn't know the rest of the song. Well, now we know that's Joan and Louis, who also recorded And I Always End Up in the Kitchen at Parties. Interesting stuff. Scraping the barrel with this one, aren't I? Anything else about Guy? Oh yeah, that's it, Guy Fawkes. When we were a little bit too old for it, but wanted some money, probably this time for a lager, we just dressed me up and put a paper bag over my head. And I just sort of put some shitty clothes on me, steady on the jokes, put some shitty clothes on me, and I sort of contorted myself. And the other two lady beside of me, scarf, hat, paper bag, because we couldn't be bothered to make a guy, so we just used a person. Worked. Oh, absolutely worked. If you're thinking about it, it worked. Oh yeah, pulled the wool over their eyes. Oh yeah. That was probably one of my first frauds, in fact. Although touching the goat skull certainly would go down as a fraud. Finally, then you've got the when I said there was no money to be made from Halloween, Trick or Treat arrived in England because we never had that. Halloween didn't really exist in England. You just told your kids that ghosts were coming out that night, and at a push there'd be a party where I want to go to a party where you dress up as like a ghost, and then Trick or Treat and what? Hang on, now around here, well, in England now, in America, it's just people dress up as dead prostitutes and doctors. just whore clothes and a bit of blood for the women, and like laboratory clothes with a bit of blood for the men. I mean, that's there's a treat in there certainly, but well, turning tricks, I see where they might have got that from. But yeah, Trick or Treat. So I never understood it. The logic don't make sense. You knock on someone's door and you go Trick or Treat. What if they say trick? And you sort of pull some flowers out, or no, just give me something. Give me something. It's cold. It's fucking November. So I remember I made a bath of fake, not a bath, like a kitchen sink full of fake puke just by throwing loads of food in it, which is what puke is really. So it was actually real puke, just hadn't been near a human. Maybe that's what defines it as puke. Look it up. I'll put a link in. And I remember the first ever and last ever Trick or Treat. Knocked on the window. I mean, I was only aware of it because I was sniffing around for a few cheap, easy quids. But she hadn't heard of it. I remember a massive woman answered the door. She had these really little round glasses on. I went, doo, 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 with my mates, and they were a bit scared. And it was understandable because everyone else... I mean, goat touching, watch straps, maybe a bit off the wall. But Trick or Treat was very new, and we didn't, we weren't confident with it. So I've knocked on it, and she's gone, well, what do you want? And I went, without confidence, I went, Trick or Treat? Is it Trick or Treat? And she went, no, go away. She wasn't northern, but shut the door. So I thought, right, that does it. She's getting a trick. So I just threw this kitchen sink, the bowl from the sink, not the sink. Threw everything at her, including the kitchen sink. Just the bowl of fake puke, real puke, stuck on that night, over a little tiny middle of terrace walkway. And we went, ha. She weren't looking, and then we just walked off thinking, And she come down and went, right, you, like done the old grab us. Get off me, I'm going to tell my dad. Took us back. We stood there as well. We just stood there thinking, oh no, we're in trouble. And she came out of a bucket and a broom and made us clean the floor. So all that happened then.